Hey everyone, this is Mr. Zach, and welcome to our online children ministry program at Chinese Christian Union Church. As the weather is beginning to cool down, I hope that you're all able to stay warm and enjoy this fall season. And as we continue our series on Imagination Time Machine, I hope that you're all ready and all able to continue to use your imagination throughout the week and also for right now. So let's get into our lesson. I want you all to imagine things that you're afraid of or things that freak you out, okay? So imagine some of those things. It could be bugs, it could be maybe things that are out of your control, like heights and things, bathtubs, I don't really know. But as I can't read your mind, here are some things that some people are scared of, and maybe I even got something that you're afraid of or something that freaks you out as well, okay? So here's some pictures. So, not sure if you guys were afraid or freaked out by any of those things that I showed you. And I'm sure you guys have some things in your life that you are afraid of as well. And, it's okay to have those emotions. But in today's Bible story, we're going to find out that maybe we don't really need to be quite so scared of those things. So, again, we're going to listen to our Bible story by imagining us traveling back in time to Bible times, where we will experience hearing and listening to what happened back then, okay? So get comfortable, maybe lay down, turn down the lighting, close your eyes, so you can imagine better throughout our lesson, okay? Don't fall asleep though, okay? And other than that, let's begin to use our imagination, okay? We are going to be in the city of Jerusalem in the time of 1405 BC, a year after the city of Jericho was defeated. So get ready, get comfortable, and get your imagination ready.
Imagine yourself stepping out of the ITM and into the massive throne room of a beautiful palace. Imagine what the throne room looks like. Quick, hide! Someone is coming. Imagine that the giant throne room doors open as 5 kings enter the room with urgency. Can you hear their heavy footsteps as they rush into the room? They seem upset. Something big is going on. Quietly move closer to hear what they're saying.
The nation of Israel must be stopped. Word has it that their God has promised to give this land to them. But curse them and their God. Jerusalem will be theirs over my dead body.
How could any one of our nations defeat Israel? Have you not heard how their God fights for them? If the city of Jericho with its giant walls couldn't stop them, then how can we?
We are 5 nations, but they are only one. If we band together, they won't stand a chance against us.
I hear the nation of Gibeon has already made a peace treaty with Israel. Maybe we should too.
Or maybe we should teach those traitors from Gibeon a lesson. Our 5 nations will fight as one, and we will destroy Gibeon right before we destroy Israel.
Later on, many miles away, a man named Joshua stands in a large tent, leaning over a map with his army commanders. Joshua is the warrior leader of Israel, chosen by God to bring his people into the Promised Land. Imagine what he looks like. Imagine what he's wearing, the sword at his side. Can you hear his voice as he strategizes with his commanders? Suddenly, a man rushes into the tent.
Joshua, my lord, I come to you from Gibeon. The 5 Amorite kings have joined armies and have attacked us for making peace with you. Please, we need your help.
Eager to help out, Joshua and his commanders rush from the tent to ready their army. Quick, follow him. In no time, the army of Israel is in formation and marching toward Gibeon. Imagine you've snuck into the ranks of the marching men. What do you see? What does it sound like? Although Joshua is quick to help the people of Gibeon, he fears being outnumbered by the 5 armies. He also senses the fear among his warriors. Move in close to Joshua and listen to what he says to his men.
I know that they are 5 nations, and we are only one. But listen to what the Lord has told me. Do not be afraid. I will give them over to you. Not one of them will be able to fight against you and win.
The Israelites have faith that God is with them, and it pushes their fear away. They march boldly through the night and take the 5 armies by surprise. Imagine the sound of battle horns blowing. Imagine the army of Israel rushing into battle with a great shout. Now imagine the sound of swords clashing. When the Israelites charge forward, God fills the faithless 5 armies with fear, and they run away in a panic. But they don't get far. Imagine the sky filling with dark clouds as God throws giant hailstones down on them. As the sun begins to set, though, the remaining enemy soldiers are close to escaping into the darkness. Joshua knows that if they get away, they'll be back to fight another day. So he prays to God for a miracle.
Almighty God, make the sun stand still over Gibeon and stop the moon in its tracks.
Imagine the surprise in the eyes of the 5 armies when the sun stands still in the sky for a full day and there is no darkness to escape into. Imagine the sun lighting up the battlefield until every one of the 5 armies has been totally defeated. Can you hear the men of Israel shouting in celebration?
In the beginning of our video, I asked if you guys to imagine what you're afraid of, or things that kind of freaked you out. So I'm going to take a wild guess that none of you guys were thinking that they were afraid of being outnumbered by 5 ferocious armies. But as we heard and imagined what happened back then in Bible times, I'm sure Joshua would have had that fear of being afraid of being outnumbered by 5 armies, because that actually happened to him. When Joshua and the army of Israel started to feel afraid, what did God say to them? God said this: "Do not be afraid. I will give them over to you." The army of Israel had faith in God's power, so when fear attacked, it didn't even put a dent in them. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. As you guys see here, I have 2 water bottles that look the same, but on the inside they're different, okay? This water bottle with no lid is like the 5 armies. It's empty, as in they don't have faith. There was no faith in them. And to remind you all what faith means is having complete trust or confidence in God. So as the 5 armies didn't have faith, they didn't believe in God. So, though with this bottle, with the lid, it's like the army of Israel. Although you can't see it, it is filled with faith in God. So let me show you a demonstration, okay? So when you have faith in God and when you don't have faith in God. Let me put on this glove. And as you can see, I wrote fear on it. And let me show you what it means, okay? When fear attacked the 5 Israelites army, when fear attacked the 5 armies, it crushed them and they ran away. But when fear attacked the army of Israel, it didn't even put a dent in them. And they fought bravely because they had faith in God. Okay, so fear did not affect Israel because they had faith in God. So let's get back to our normal spot. God has the power to save us from our fears. God saved the army of Israel from their fears, and he saves us from our fears too. In fact, that's what our Bible verse for today says, from Psalms chapter 34, verse 4. As I read, I looked to the Lord, and he answered me. He saved me from everything I was afraid of. Psalms 34, verse 4. Fear attacks all of us sometimes. Sometimes we're afraid of things like clowns, heights, or maybe even spiders and stuff like that. But sometimes we're afraid of even bigger things, like losing a friend, or being made fun of, or nightmares, or even death. Though, what I want you all to remember is that when you have faith in God and look to him, he can save you from your fears. God has the power to pour hail down from the clouds. He has power to make the sun stand still in the sky, and he has the power to stop fear from crushing you. God has power over all things, so we can battle our fear with faith in him. I want you all to close your eyes and imagine one last thing. Imagine you're facing your fear, but you're not alone. Jesus is standing right next to you, holding your hand. Imagine that he leans over to you and whispers in your ear. He says, do not be afraid. I'm with you. Now imagine your fear fading away until it's gone. And that's what happened when we put our faith in Jesus. You can open your eyes now. And remember this, that God has power over all things. So we can battle our fears with faith. I'll see you guys around.